You're on TV right? They can take you live at night.
Yeah. You just got two of them. Two of them things that work. Right there.
That was plug-in, man.
That got a plug on it? Because one of them not connected. One of them broke. Or did he weld it back? Yeah. Yeah.
Gospel is back live. KIEE Productions presents the 4th Annual Gospel Bowl at the Westgate Amphitheater at 305 Jefferson Island Road in New Iberia. The Tally Boys of Tyler, Texas. The spiritual men and women gospel group of New Iberia. The Lighthouse Singers of Baton Rouge. Bishop Richard Frank and family of Bill Platt. The sensational Soul Searchers. For more information, the contact number of Bucky Manuel is 337-256-3654. Or John Broussard, 337-380-0998. The 4th Annual Gospel Bowl is a proud sponsor of this program.
Hi fans, this is your favorite actor. When I am in the Lafayette area, I listen to the Open Line radio show with Sister Kadisha and Brother Jay. Heard exclusively on KIEE 88.3, your superstation for South Louisiana.
The Open Line radio show is supported in part by Finders Keepers, the place with your residential hardware needs, small engines, outdoor power equipment, bathroom accessories, electronics, lighting, plumbing and everything in between. Located in the Southern Development Office Building, at 1006 Surrey Street, Lafayette. Telephone 337-780-8149. That's Finders Keepers.
You are now tuned into my man, Brother Jay, and our conscious sister, bringing the people the knowledge on the Open Line radio show on 88.3 FM, your superstation for South Louisiana.
You are rolling with the Open Line radio show, heard exclusively on KIEE 88.3 FM, your superstation for South Louisiana.
KIEE, the Louisiana Superstation, presents the community's #1 radio talk show, The Open Line. If you have an open mind.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Open Line. I'm Brother Jay. I'll be here with my co-host, Sister Khadijah. Stay tuned and relax for the Open Line on KIEE 88.3, your superstation.
Welcome to the Open Line on KIEE 88.3, your superstation. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers and are not necessarily those of KIEE 88.3 staff or management. Thanks for listening.
Oh Lord, if I had the chance to be born again and a choice of colors for my skin, knowing that it's twice as hard, yes it is, being black to win, I would still wanna be black again. I tell you that's small minds and the way some treat me. Hatred is a one thing. I'll never let it defeat me. Now God bless America and forgive us for we all sin. I she did. She refused. Yes, she refused. She refused to give up her seat. Her cries was heard by Dr. Martin Luther King. I can still hear his trembling voice saying, why don't you let freedom ring? Oh, if I'm second class, Lord, I need to know when war breaks out, where we call first to go. To fight for my country. Woo-hoo. That I'm fighting in. I would still wanna be. Yes. Oh, I would still wanna be. Yes. Yes, I'd still wanna be. Yes. Black again. Yes, I'm black and I'm proud to be.
Yes, good morning. Hotep Habarigani, assalamu alaikum. Another beautiful day out here. And that song was from the great late Peggy Scott Adams. Yeah, she died this week and everything. And we just want to keep our listening audience informed. Also, we want to mention that the Francis Benoit American Legion Post 504 is having a drive-by breakfast. And that's to show token of appreciation for a veteran serving our country. That's going to be this Saturday, April the 1st, from 8 to 10, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. The location is 603 Clifford Road, Lafayette. All veterans are welcome to receive a free breakfast, and that's from Francis Benoit American Legion Post 504. Also, Hands for Heroes, that's also April the 1st, and that's honoring veterans, and it's at the Walmart in Carencro, and that's 3810 Northeast Evangeline Thruway, 3810 Northeast Evangeline Thruway. Hands for Hero. Saturday also, April the 1st, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Walmart and Carencro. And it's really good that people have been honoring veterans and everything because for a long time they were not honored at all, and they fought all these different wars and between the Jim Crow racism and all this other kind of garbage. They did not acknowledge our black veterans. So this is going out to all veterans and everything. Brother G?
Yes, Sister Khadija. We gotta try to open the mics today till our guests come on. We're waiting for also Attorney Dwight to call in. She's at court today, and she could try to call in.
Okay, Attorney
shout out to Attorney Dwight Smith. Heard every Wednesday exclusively on this station. Shout out to everybody, staff and management of Southern Development, Mr. John Freeman and Charlie, for helping making these shows possible. Sister Khadija, so much is going on in the community. And we're going to also get into your new show on AOC Community Media, which is Phenomenal Women. I think that's a great idea, great concept. Y'all stay tuned for some big thing from Sister Khadija. Finally, something we could all 120% agree on, not just 145 or whatever. Sister Khadija, our prayers go out and our concerns go out to the people of Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Now, a little background on Rolling Fork. It's a small town, smaller than Jeanerette, Louisiana, and it's predominantly, I think, 70% African-American, 70% black, from one of the hardest, let's say, poorest areas of the state of Mississippi. To be devastated by a EF4 tornado, which ripped through the city, basically destroying everything. So many people are in need, so we reached out to some people in Mississippi, and they're gonna be coming on later on one of the other shows that we do, and they're gonna be talking about the help they need. So, but please, people, keep these people in prayer and in concern. If you have to donate to the Red Cross. Go to their website, and they have some connection to donate to Rolling Fork. But in the meantime, I have a telephone number, contact number to contact someone if you want to help in Rolling Fork, Mississippi. This is unprecedented. This thing, I know we had a small tornado in New Iberia, but this tornado was about maybe a mile to 2 miles wide, according to some, that destroyed the city and another little city with it. And to see our people suffer so much. So contact area code 601-316-0648 or area code 769-226-7373. Again, the main numbers, area code 601-316-0648. That's for the rescue for Rolling Fork. They just need donations. They need canned goods. They need baby wipes, Pampers, pet food, everything you could basically think of when you have a major disaster like that. Sister Khadija, you saw the pictures. Looked like an atomic bomb. Like, it's not just like the tornado I saw in New Iberia. It went over an area a certain width, a couple of 100 feet. But this went through the whole city and destroyed the whole city and that part of impoverished Mississippi.
Yes, also, yes. And yes, that was horrific. And another horrific thing that happened, too, were the killing of those 6 people, 6 or 7, school shooting. And it's then start the debate all over again about these AR-15. I mean, why do you need a machine gun like that? For the innocent lives that is continuously being lost through gun violence.
We are interactive and live. Call us at area code 33753400036. That's 33753400036. On the Open Line Radio Show on KIEE 88.3 FM, your superstation for South Louisiana.
Yes, sister. Call us. Let us know your concerns. We got an open mic segment for now. Our guest in the second half probably would be Professor James Taylor from the University of San Francisco, discussing politics and the implications going on right now in Washington, D.C. But in the meantime, sister, we got some serious controversial stuff going on here in the Lafayette Parish area. You got that article right there. That article stood out in the Advocate. And when you want to give the example of privileged people or corruption, you have one right here in that article you have. How can a city councilman get in a wreck caused by her and hit another vehicle, and then because of her connection to law enforcement calls the chief, and the chief come down there and just basically poo-poo everything on the side. You know, when you shoot everything on the side like nothing happened. And even the issue with him giving gift cards to the officers on the scene, I mean, not him, but her giving some so-called apology gift cards. Well, and then they refuse to take the gift card, but the chief turn around, takes the cards and give them right back to him and saying, you need to take this. This is corruption. This is corruption. This is everything in the book you could think of. And I wonder if the city council in Youngsville and law enforcement, if that's happening on that level, what do you think will happen to people of color when being stopped in that area?
Yes, and it wasn't. It was a parked car. It was a parked car. Yeah. So
she could have been drunk. You think?
Well,
she said she wasn't.
Well, yeah, you gotta take her for her word at face value. But if you're gonna call in and if you're gonna call the chief to say, I hit a parked car and I fell asleep hitting it. Well, what caused you to fall asleep?
She said she was reaching for her phone, which should be wrong also.
Right.
You or me will get stopped.
you know.
Yes. Caller, you're on. You're the first caller.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for taking my call.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just another example of people getting away with things. Look at Trump. He think he didn't do nothing wrong, want to get off of everything. It's just another case of letting them do what they want to do. Now, she lied when they asked if she was drinking. She said no. Then again, she said yeah. She should be fired too. Her and along with the chief that was there on the scene. They need to all be fired, put out of office.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Because they're not helping the people by doing favoritism like that. Like the lady said on the interview. It's nothing but favoritism. And it makes you upset to know that this goes on. You get upset every day behind these people.
Yes.
And when the other man had a drunk drive and they paraded him in the front of the camera. I forgot what his name was, but look how they treated him, the black man.
Yes, ma'am. I definitely agree.
Yes, we definitely agree.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, to me, that's just part of democracy. No matter how you look at it, those who can afford to get out of trouble, they get out of trouble. And those of us who can't afford, we always stuck to either go to jail, pay fines and fees. You know, we had that with a councilwoman out in New Iberia.
Yeah, and you have a LSU criminal justice professor chimed in and said that was wrong, morally wrong, and it smacks of corruption.
Yes, smack of corruption, which is part of democracy here. Caller, you have a question or a comment? You're on.
I have a comment. So the chief state law enforcement officer is Jeff Landry, and Jeff Landry should be doing something about that crazy stuff that's going on in Youngsville with the police chief. However, Jeff Landry took a private jet and is in Washington, D.C., arguing some ridiculous things regarding Facebook today.
Yes, he was testifying.
He's been the chief law enforcement officer in Louisiana for 7 years now, and he has not protected the citizens from people dying in nursing homes. He has not protected the citizens of Louisiana from being ripped off by homeowners insurance companies that don't pay when we get hit by hurricanes. He has not protected the citizens from anything.
Yeah, he wanted to close down libraries.
He's been completely derelict in his duties as the state attorney general, and now he wants to be governor. So I'll give you another example of him and his corrupt coalition of people. Now you have Bo Beaulier presenting legislation to persecute elections, people that work on elections, and make sure that the elections are safe and the machines are good. So he is proposing legislation, I believe it's House Bill 204, where he is going after people to persecute them. And the reason that they're doing this is because Bo Beaulier and Blake Miguez, they don't want to have elections anymore. They want to be able to appoint each other to these positions. They don't want you to vote at all. And you know that because they gerrymandered all of their districts so that they have these supermajorities in the House and the Senate at the state capitol. So they all work together. They did it in the parish of Iberia, where they specifically gerrymandered the district lines so that they had a majority. They're presenting legislation so that they will persecute people that try and participate in democracy. They are all trying to make sure that you do not have any voice in government. You better be careful if you're going to vote in Jeff Landry and Bo Beaulier and Blake Miguez. You're essentially losing complete democracy.
Yes, sir.
That's my comment. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. He's right on point. And also, the Louisiana legislative also recently gained with the new elections of people being elected. The Republicans and the Conservatives gained a super majority in the Louisiana legislative body, and that's troubling because right now they out there trying to change all the laws, trying to bring them back to the '60s. They're trying to make it convenient for certain communities to prosper more than others. So people pay attention to the fight for your civil rights, the fight for justice, and even issues with economics. It's an eternal fight. You know, it's an eternal fight.
Yes, yes. And the number to call is 337-534-0036 or 337-534-0042. Now, a caller called in and didn't want to be on the phone, but the question that he stated was that is it true that former Sheriff Louis Ackley is going to be running for sheriff of Iberia Parish, and Pac-Man is going to be running on that same ticket? They're going to be like co-conspirator. I mean, they're going to be like co.
Don't say those.
So
we've been down that road with them before.
Right. So we don't know if that is the truth or anything like that, and so we can't elaborate on.
I have no comments until any official announcements on that, because that'd certainly be a separate show on another platform if I had to say something about that. But people just got to be reminded. Right now, we're in the midst of in communities all across the country. We have our brother Roland Martin. We have our brother Rashad Ritchie who's on the Young Turks Network. Countless videos of law enforcement jurisdictions all over the United States doing harm to people, to citizens, especially black people. And you just have to go look at these videos. And for people like Roland Martin, who's been experiencing the news and journalist business for a long time, people like Brother Rashad Ritchie out of Atlanta, who's now a professor, to highlight these videos in these communities. There's something going on, and we still haven't done anything to move the needle on police reform.
Yes, you're on, sir.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
yes,
we can
sir.
hear you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Good morning.
Okay, yes.
Good morning.
Brother, Sister Khadijah, and Brother Jay, good morning.
Hey.
Brother Jay, I want to mention this about some of the things you're talking about. I'm going to take us on a journey right quick. It's going to be a short one. Right now in Israel, there is something that is taking place that for such a long time has never took place in Israel as it's being done right now, and it's nationally televised, and everybody by now should probably have seen this. In Israel right now, the people are rising up because they are not happy with Benjamin Netanyahu and that the folks that's running country. Netanyahu was prime minister, then he lost the last race, and then another race came up, and he was able to get back in. And now he and the party that he represents wants to change so many things there, and the people are fed up. And if y'all have not seen this, go take a look. Similar to what happens here in the United States and in other countries. This is currently going on worldwide.
Yeah.
Guys,
even in some of the European
we have some things that are happening around us, like Brother Jay, you talk about police, let's call it brutality or whatever, where, when people are being treated unfairly by the law or by the ones who are hired to uphold the law, it's almost like you're taking freedom from them, and freedom is what your country stands on. In the countries of democracy, you have what's called freedom. And when somebody's freedom is threatened, they have a right in that in that country to speak out on that. And by speaking out, that's a right itself. You cannot batter somebody or withhold them from being able to speak, because their speaking is just letting you know how they feel. If you want to debate what they're saying, you have that right too, in this country or in any country. I find that what we are dealing with, that is happening all over, is that everybody seems to want to shut up everybody for everything. It's a war about words. What is coming out? Who's saying it? How do we shut it down? And all of that. In countries where you have a right to voice your opinion, especially about things that you as an individual feel that is not right according to the law of the land, of the municipality, of the state, of the region, of the village. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Guys, that's where we are in our time now, post a little bit pandemic. But we were having that pre-pandemic. If you all want to know, in my opinion, what's happening, wake up, guys.
Yes.
Because we're living it.
Exactly.
First chapter Genesis, last chapter Revelation. We are living it. And if you want to figure it out, go in between them pages and read a little bit, study a little bit. You'll be able to figure out what's happening around you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I have to agree that but I view it as the extremist right-wing agenda of dictatorship is the order of the day everywhere, even in local politics, even in national politics, based on one person mindset, and he's certainly not so much the idealist behind it, but he's the conduit to carry it through, and we know who that is. Now, in the second half, in a few minutes, we have Professor James Taylor on the line, and listen to this brother, and he's certainly going to break it down where our community can understand what's going on in the political scene. So that's coming up in a few minutes. He's on West Coast time, Professor James Taylor.
Yes, and also today the 29th of March, there's going to, the Black Pages is celebrating 40 years, and today they're going to be having a meet and greet from 6 p.m. And the presentation is at 6:30. 6 p.m. and the presentation is at 6:30, and that's at 705 West University Lafayette. Is the city hall. It's the city hall. They're going to be meeting, celebrating 40 years. And also, don't forget about the Veterans Upward Bound program. That's under the guidance of ULL with Ms. Linda Cockrell and the staff, a fantastic staff for VUB, Veterans Upward Bound program. Veterans Upward Bound program for those that are honorably discharged and would like to have education and get back into some of the norms of things, and it's relatively a easy task. Camaraderie is the forefront.
Yes. Oh, we have a brief moment of silence on the telephone, Sister Khadijah, because the lines are constantly going on the Open Line Radio Show.
I didn't get a chance to pick it up.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to pick up the caller, but let me try again. I'm sorry. Caller, you have a question or comment? You're on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
To all, I just wanted to say, last night I caught kind of the end of a documentary that they had on the TV. And it was pertaining to this little black that was trying to integrate into a predominantly white school. And one of the parents or someone decided that they didn't want that particular document to be shown because it would show the little kids that white hated or they disagreed or they was against black children. So they said they had to look at this movie or the documentary, whatever it was. Like I said, I kind of caught the end of it. But then the person that gave this news said it only takes one person. It was only this one woman that decided that she didn't want that particular I'm really not too sure, 'cause like I said, I caught the end of it. But anyway, so this one person, they said, if one person decides that it's something that they don't want to be reviewed or showed at a school, they can't do it. So how is it if you say that you don't want it showed, and then somebody else come and say they want it showed? So that, how does that go? You know, it's a lot of craziness going on.
Oh yes,
in the world today.
Yes, it is. They actually are trying to remove or have removed books by the late great Hank Aaron, baseball player, because of his struggle. He talked about his struggle with racism within the Major League Baseball. Even the books of Roberto Clemente, another great baseball player. So this shows you how far they are going and not wanting to hear the truth, and they're putting it all in the back of these so-called words that they're trying to twist into something bad called wokeism and CRT. So we got to just pay attention and stay ahead of that and try not to adopt the same narrative that they have adopted when using these words in the proper form. So, Sister Khadijah, so many things going on. But let's go back to your show. You done this past Saturday. What was that about for the listening audience?
Oh, it's just highlighting phenomenal women all over. Particularly in Louisiana, rather, and because there's a lot of women that are not. They have done things for years and years, and you barely know that they've done anything. Our guest was Miss Ruby, and people know Miss Ruby from. She was. She worked hand in hand with. Sister Janelle Shagwar, when she rested in peace, and they gave out suits and prom dresses all over to people that to deserving people and everything. And then we also had Dr. Tyler Williams Damon, the educator, the sisters that took and started the
Willow Academy.
Yes, out in Abbeville. So it's just so good that you could just see how many times people, have been doing things for years, but you don't know of them because either they're not on the internet, they're not doing no Facebook, and I mean, you're talking about people that have done things the right way for such a long time. Carly, you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I got a comment. The first caller before that he was talking about democracy and what that's happening all over the world. Everywhere there's democracy, there's wars. Democracy now is to keep the people in bondage. For some reason, we don't understand all what black people have been going through and still going through. They're still doing it all around the world. And our biggest thing we think about participating in this is helping black people. What it's doing is helping the poor white folks who always vote against their own rights, their own liberties, just for black people not to have it. And at school you mentioned last, the Willow Academy in Abbeville is now closed behind hanging with the wrong white people. Y'all did a lot of stuff to promote the school, but it was mishandled when you saw Clay Higgins and all the rest of the white representatives since they're trying to start this school open. We cannot benefit ourselves until we start doing things by ourselves without the white man involvement. This is why the school in Abbeville is closed, because of mismanagement. And to make sure it do default, the Congress people that they pull aside of them made sure they don't get the money to keep this school going afloat. So until we realize we are the only black people that can help ourselves without white people's involvement, but a lot of y'all feel that y'all need the government, and what y'all don't realize, the government job is to empower you and use black people to make you think that the government is the way out. And the only way out is ourselves doing our own things. Thank y'all.
Yes, and that's what was so good about having the program acknowledging phenomenal women, because that's exactly what Dr. Tyler Williams, Damon is, and her sister, because they took the initiative. They went and fought for years to go ahead and get this charter school open up, and they really were successful. I think one of the main reasons why it's closed, things are still in litigations right now. So some things you can't even mention. But I mean, they took this endeavor on, and nobody can take from them what they actually done, because it was spectacular in all being. And again, Miss Ruby, for so long, Miss Ruby has given out dresses, worked hand in hand with with Sister Janelle Shagwell. Carly, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I have a comment.
You're on.
Yes. Over the weekend I was watching a documentary on MSNBC. They always spotlighting black towns. It was about some black people trying to vote and the things that they went through to vote. How the white people would steal their ballot, throw it in the river and everything, because they wanted black representation in the town. They did all kind of stuff to those black people. But at the end, they prevailed. They had a black sheriff. They had black people in power and everything in that small town. I used to say, in numbers, you can do whatever you want to do. You got to get out there and vote. Vote these people out of office. And I tell it to people all the time. Get out there and vote. Don't, my vote don't count. Your vote do count.
Yes, ma'am.
Go out there and vote and stop just sitting down doing nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
Get out there and vote. Because that little black town, they didn't have no black representation in the city hall, but they got together. The white people put them out of their houses they was renting on. They ended up living in tents. But they ended up getting black representation in that little town.
Yeah, we got a couple of towns around Lafayette Parish that does not have any black representation. Dr. Williams pointed that out to me, and I have the list, and I know it starts with Youngsville also. So, and I'm amazed at the growth of Youngsville. I'm hoping it's not at the expense of others in the parish of Lafayette, because this is, I mean, this town has grown, and it's not a hater thing. It's wondering if the balance of economic situation on spending on infrastructure, if that's being spent equally in Lafayette Parish. So,
and I also read an article that state that Jeff Lander would be bad for Louisiana. Jeff Lander would be bad for Louisiana.
That's right. Do your research. That's a cross between DeSantis and Trump situation. If you
and
have
all
to
of
say,
these
be honest about it.
Republicans want to be governor of these states. That's so they can turn everything around.
Yeah. Well, it's an eternal fight. You keep going up the hill, and the hill keep sliding down the hill. That's our fight.
That's correct. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Khadijah. I'm about to get.
Another
Mr.
thing.
James Taylor, I think you got another phone call.
Oh, okay. Another thing, our vote don't count when we don't vote. I mean, you've got to be able to vote in order to make things different. And try to vote the best candidate for your people. Not someone that is just wanting to vote just to be in that position. You gotta get somebody that you really, really know is not gonna be hush. Will not just shut up. Will be forceful. One side of the town is being taken care of, and the other side of the town is not being taken care of. Why do I need to fill out a survey or go to a website to tell you what needs to be improved in my community when you never ask the other side of town, the south side, what needs to be proven on their side? Why? Because they already have all of the improvement. So some things you just wonder, just wonder. Caller, you're on. You have a question or a comment? You're on.
Yes, I have a comment. Y'all are talking about disparities where things are not being fairly done with folks' taxes, for example. Well, of course, I think by now we all know that taxpayers in the city of Lafayette, their monies are getting spent in the parish area of Lafayette Parish, where taxpayers' dollars in Lafayette takes care of things in Karen Crow, Scott, Dusson, Youngsville, Broussard, and every municipality. But taxpayers from the city of Lafayette can't go into Karen Crow or none of Youngsville, Broussard, Scott, Dusson, etc. Can't go into those towns and say, hand us some of your taxpayer dollars so that we could do fixing and repairing and building new things in the city of Lafayette. That is a disparity. That is using money not fairly, equally across the board. You wonder how Youngsville and all of that is blowing up? It's nothing to wonder about. I mean, we all not sitting there in the office to see exactly how it's being done, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there is some disparities and some unfairness about how we are governed. The way the charter runs here, everybody needs to go spend time and look at what's happening in Sulphur, Louisiana, with the citizens of Sulphur and what they are doing to their charter. They are slowly beginning to dismantle their charter and change things slowly. It's happening slowly because, of course, they got people that don't want it to change. But the folks in Sulphur, they are wanting this thing to be upgraded, and not only upgraded because it's so far in history with some of the information that it doesn't even pertain to them and how we live today. So they are slowly changing that. If Sulphur can begin doing this at regular council meetings on a regular basis, then that can be done here in Lafayette too, because that thing does not work well for the citizens of Lafayette, let alone Lafayette Parish. Okay. It is unfair the way that charter thing works.
All right.
It needs to be dismantled.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Coach. We have Dr. James Taylor on right now, and Dr. Taylor going to go ahead and speak.
That's Dr. James Taylor, Professor of Political Sciences at the University of San Francisco. Welcome, Dr. Taylor. You're on with Sister Khadijah and Brother Jay here on the Open Line Radio Show on 88.3 FM, your superstation for South Louisiana. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing great, and it's great to be back. It's great to be back in Louisiana.
Yes, sir. Sister Khadijah, she still have that meal waiting on
you. Good. I'm looking forward to it.
We know it's early in the morning out there on West Coast time, but so much is going on in, let's say, in the politics and in black politics.
Right.
As far as the way we have to deal with the concerns, and I listen to Carl, I listen to Rashad Ritchie, I listen to all the shows, even a little bit of Reverend Al sometimes,
Right.
But I listen to you a lot, my brother. Tell us, what should we be worrying about right now in the field of black politics as it affects us all on a national, state, and local level?
Yeah, there's like you said, there's a lot going on. One of the biggest developments is Hakeem Jeffers becoming the leading Democrat as a Democratic speaker, a minority leader, and that's a important historical development in African American politics. And we've seen Lori Lightfoot lose in Chicago, but we saw Karen Bass win in Los Angeles. We've seen a number of developments in terms of just general politics that reflect and impact Black people as voters and citizens that don't directly relate to our own struggle. As in other words, the larger things that are going on in politics. One of the things that I know you were interested in was sort of what the implications are if Trump is arrested and what that would look like, you know. And for black folk, it's going to be, I think, a carnival. You know, I think it'll be a spectacle. But it's not unprecedented for the president to be arrested in office. And Trump is not even in office anymore. There's actually a case, if you look it up, where there's a black man named William Henry West who gave, in Washington, D.C., he was a black man. William Henry West was a black man and a cop and a soldier. And in 1872, he arrested Ulysses S. Grant, the guy in your $50 bill. A black man did. A black cop arrested the president of the United States in 1872. And Ulysses S. Grant accepted the ticket. I think he paid a $20 fine after his arraignment and went on about his business. And that's how this is really going to be with Trump. It's not a big deal. This is a misdemeanor. Michael Cohen did jail time, so that might be the one, you know, danger to Trump, is that he could do jail time because someone else who's committed the same crime has already done time. But for the most part, it's probably going to be a civil fine and a spectacle, and Trump will try to use it as a way to organize his base. I think they're underestimating how Trump has been defeated ever since he showed up in 2016.
And Dr. Taylor, Sister Khadijah, I know she won't ask you this question because this is her interest. Donald Trump and the $150,000 or whatever with that exchange hand, should that be, is that really technically a crime because he paid off a madam to keep her hush, or because of the it was commingling of the campaign funds, or wherever the money is coming from? Is that
right? Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I think a lawyer should have that conversation. But what I can say is this: in politics and in political corruption cases of any kind, it's seldom the actual act that is the offending deed. It's usually the cover-up and the lie associated with it. So Bill Clinton didn't get impeached because of Monica Lewinsky and he had an affair. He got impeached for the lie. And that's the technicality. So lying is technically against the law. And so it's not a small thing. This is already a misdemeanor. But again, Trump can make more out of it politically if he wants to. But again, Al Capone, John Gotti, those guys went down for tax evasion, not for mafia activity. So that's the nature of this, you know, a prosecution is, if we can get you for anything, we'll charge you. But there's no such thing as a technicality to a prosecutor because it's a violation of law or policy. And so, again, Trump is not going to go to jail and, you know, look like he's going to do years in prison. He might do some months in jail. You know, we had Trafficant. I can't remember, James Trafficant. James Trafficant went to jail in Ohio. And one more thing, if you check in 2008 when Obama ran for president the first time, during the West Virginia Democratic primary, the racists of West Virginia voted for a white man in prison over Barack Obama.
Wow.
That happened in 2008, West Virginia. Democrats against Democrats. The white Democrats chose a man in jail over Barack Obama. Look it up.
Wow. Wow. You're hearing from Professor James Taylor, University of San Francisco, breaking it down in politics. A lot of people don't want to get in our community don't want to get their hands dirty in politics. I know in South Louisiana, sometimes we accept a lot of stuff that we should not accept.
And then Professor Taylor, it's not so much as the, well, you know, we saying that, okay, it's because of the lying, but yet the United States have lied, stole, raped for centuries. So I don't really get it. I mean, the part where we've had similar discussion is the fact that at least Stormy Daniels got some type of compensation for a drive-by.
A drive-by?
Right.
Why you would call that a drive-by?
Right. And it wasn't illegal to pay her the hush money. That's not against the law.
Right.
What's against the law is, the manner in which he denied it having. He said it had to do with election law, and that puts him into the area of a gray area of deceiving voters and trying to keep the money hidden so they wouldn't know about it because they might have heard him at the last minute. So that's the potential crime.
Okay.
And again, like I said, when you look at a lot of big cases, it's not always the main crime. It's usually hiding the crime that leads to the subsequent punishment. And that's what happened again with Bill Clinton, even though that was political and not criminal. It was the lie under at the grand jury stage that Bill Clinton got himself in trouble when he said, I did not have relations with that woman. And then he, was on tape, and he got caught lying. Donald Trump, we have to remember, a few months back in this very case, pled the Fifth Amendment about 500 times. So it may not be $130, but it's the 500 lies that he's covering up, or the 500 non-answers. And 500 invocations of the Fifth Amendment. When has any of us, had to invoke the Fifth Amendment? And this man has had to do it repeatedly. So again, when you lie to a grand jury, the prosecutors, they say, can prosecute a ham sandwich. And we know that goes all the way back to the the Michael Brown case, where the Democrat prosecutor there, whose daddy had been killed by a black man, refused to prosecute Darren Wilson, the cop that shot Michael Brown. And they came back with no true verdict in the grand jury process. But here, again, you're right. And Trump is the first one that's going to call it. I mean, Trump would say, America has done a lot of evil. He said that, he said America's a really bad country, But I think people should not overplay their hand.
Why the media likes him? Why the media gravitates to him? Is it ratings to see him that he might do something weird or say something crazy? And then here in Louisiana, he got all his people, supporters, saying crazy things, and all his elected officials, they say almost the same crazy. We got Attorney General. He wants to close libraries. He wants guns and everybody to have a gun, but he want to take away the books. That's kind of crazy, you know.
Well, I even kind of like hate just giving him that much of a airtime, because you have the prodigy son, their very own prodigy son, that takes and kick them in the tail, which is something that a normal John Doe couldn't do. You had to have all kinds of money. And it's something about government where they always want to be in your bedroom. What you do behind closed doors, what you do in your bedroom, that's all private. That's none of their business. When you go back and you look at the COINTELPRO, look at how asphyxiated they was trying to find out, did he have a mistress? What him and his mistress was doing? That's nobody's business.
Right.
Now, I want to find out about, there's been some serious challenges where you have black people are going to court to get back the lands that was stolen from their foreparents and everything like that. Have you heard things about that? Is it going forward?
That was the case here in California, in L.A., and it's called Bruce Beach. If we're talking about the same case. And what happened was, basically, the black family wanted to hold on to that land, just like everybody who cares and is conscious in black America understood the symbolic importance of that recovery, because that, right here in the midst of all the reparations work we're doing. And to be clear to the audience, I am one of the 15 people who made the decision to offer $5 million to black people for reparations in California, in San Francisco. Wow. So I'm actually, my seat is called seat 1 out of 15 seats. So if you look it up, the San Francisco African American Reparations Committee, you'll see I'm the first person on the whole committee. We're doing a lot of work, and we can talk about that too. But I also wanted to, put this back in the context of these culture wars. I mean, the culture wars have been the main mobilization principle, organizing principle for Republicans pretty much since Fox News showed up in 1995. From that point on, they've used culture wars as a way of, distracting poor whites and uneducated white and, just regular white folk, and convincing them that black folk are their problem, that Mexicans are their problem, that the border is their problem, that, the Muslims are their problem, that, transgender people are their problem. Everybody's their problem except, those who have power to make things better for people. And when you have a president who's sickly, or ex-president, who sickly held a press conference and a presidential rally at the same day and the anniversary of the Waco, Texas massacre.
Oh, yes.
That's a sick man that did that. He almost did that with Tulsa, Oklahoma in 2021. Right. He threatened to go to Tulsa on Juneteenth, and Black America said, "We dare you." And a security guard, a Secret Service agent, a black man, told Trump, "Do not do that. Do not go to Tulsa on Juneteenth in 2021 because all hell will break loose." And I felt the tension because he was provoking Black America. Now he was provoking Black America in that instance. But here you see him using the backdrop of David Koresh and Waco to show, federal overreach, Janet Reno, Bill Clinton. I mean, Donald Trump is so lost in the past 30 years that his people have to be stunned that this man can't think about tomorrow. Donald Trump has no vision of the next 10 years, 3 years, 5 years,
Dr.
4
Taylor,
years.
give us your opinion on even with the pending cases against him for the whether or not they can indict him, the black prosecutors in New York and Fulton County. Yes.
Yeah, and he's calling them racist. Mm-hmm. And this is the sickness. He's explicitly calling the black folk who prosecute him racist to a bunch of white racists. But black folk don't always get to go around calling white prosecutors racist, do we? We don't. Right. When do you see black folk stand on television and call a white prosecutor a racist? As much as we know they are racist, when do we do it? We don't. So his white privilege allows him to play this game. He's a white man playing a game because he can. And he can jeopardize and threaten Alvin Bragg. He threatened the man with a baseball bat on the internet 2 days ago, threatening him and calling him all kind of racist and low-life scum. That's the word he used for the prosecutor. Now imagine if this is Ja Rule, or if this was, a Jay-Z or anybody, somebody, any regular black folk person. Boosie, let's go with Boosie. If this was Boosie, I love Boosie. If he can hear me, he need to know I love him. If it was Boosie doing this, he would go to jail. If Boosie got up on Instagram and said something about the prosecutors that were, that coming after him, and had a bat and said, y'all are a bunch of low life, this and that, you can see that prosecutors would not tolerate that. Some other prosecutor would come after him for doing that. But Trump has not even been prosecuted for the recent threat he made to the prosecutor. And again, he's highlighting the fact that they're black. Only a racist can get away with that, and a white man who knows the game of America. Trump knows America so well. He and Obama both know America. And what I mean is, Obama knew America was still thoroughly racist, and that's why he avoided race. He didn't even talk about reparations. How did Obama get away with not addressing reparations when Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote the article while he was president? That stuns me to this day. Obama never made an official statement on reparations when it was the hottest topic during his presidency. And that's when the George Floyd movement and uprising led to a widespread reparations movement that's happening now. Obama got away with never addressing reparations. To my knowledge, he never said a word publicly. Just like right now, in San Francisco, I'm on the committee. London Breed, the black woman mayor of San Francisco, ain't said a word publicly, and we've been meeting for almost 2 years and have given up our report to the city council, and we recommended $5 million to each black San Francisco resident, and she hasn't said a word. The black city council leader has. He's the one that sponsored it, a brother named Shaman Walton. He was president of the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco recently, and then the white man, pulled a coup on him and overthrew him. A white liberal overthrew the black man, and now the white man, who is the white liberal, now is the president of the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco, a man named Peskin, P-E-S-K-I-N. This white man overthrew his brother in San Francisco, but the brother, Shaman Walton, he actually is the sponsor of the legislation. But now, look at this, Sister Khadijah and Brother Jay. Since we started our efforts, and we started after Evanston, Illinois, and after Asheville, North Carolina. They started first. But San Francisco just funded the city council this week raised $50 million, earmarked $50 million to create a permanent reparations committee in San Francisco. A permanent committee. This is the furthest we've gotten and closest we've ever gotten to reparations at a local level since some was given in South Carolina back in the 1860s to a few black families. Some did get 40 acres and a mule. Not a lot, but some did. And Johnson confiscated a lot of the land that did become, that was given under 40 acres and a mule. But, you know, again, in San Francisco, what we're doing is we look at what would it mean. And I know in Louisiana, $5 million for reparations sounds insane to a lot of people. But if you look in LA, to be middle class, to be just above middle class means you earn $2 million in LA. To be just above middle class in New York, you have to have an income of $3 million.
Right.
To be just above middle class in San Francisco, you have an income or net worth of $5 million. So our reparations plan in San Francisco is not even to make black folk rich. If you got $5 million in San Francisco, you ain't even on the top, you're not even elite. You're not even rich in San Francisco. If you got $5 million, you just got $5 million, but you ain't rich.
Dr. Taylor, we have a call on the line. I hate to interrupt you. You were on a roll. You're listening to Dr. James Taylor on 88.3 FM. Caller.
Yes. To our brother that's on with us, good morning. I want to say to you, brother, have you all been looking around the world along with the United States for the past years of all of our lives, no matter what age we are now? Guys, you're talking about a political football. And if y'all have watched movies over the year, every time that political football thing comes up, it's dealing into the depths of how government is run, organized, etc. We are not playing in this game. We to them don't even exist. The bottom line is we are the worker ant. That's what they see us as. It's just the worker ant. We don't exist to them. They playing a game that's beyond what they don't even see us at no table. We're not even the ants that get the crumbs when it fall off their table. That's how this is, guys. Look around the world. Look at it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you, but I think you can't give up on democracy. I believe he's right about the corruption, about systems, about powers, about spiritual wickedness in high places, the Bible says. But I think when people talk like that, they almost throw the white flag in on democracy. Have faith in the people. Have faith in the people to fight back. The black people have saved democracy for the past 30 years. Black America, even though everybody's saying black women, it's been black men and women and young people together have fought back against this white backlash that's been really in the game since Ronald Reagan. I'm talking about the war on drugs. Forget Trump and MAGA. MAGA is the second coming of Reagan. Reagan started MAGA, not Trump. Trump ain't the father of MAGA. Ronald Reagan is. Trump ain't the father of the war on drugs that devastated us. Ronald Reagan was. Trump ain't the one who did mass incarceration. That was the Democrats and the Republicans. In fact, the Democrats are the main ones that have driven the prison of the black prison population up in America. Bill Clinton put more black men in prison than Ronald Reagan did, and George Bush. In the 12 years of Reagan, Bush, more black men went to prison in the 8 years of Bill Clinton than the 12 years of republicanism before him. And the Democrats came up with law and order. The Democrats came up with tough on crime, not Republicans. LBJ said tough on crime before Nixon did. LBJ said tough on crime first. Then Nixon said it. I'm sorry, law and order, excuse me. LBJ said in 65, there will be law and order in the United States, and said civil rights ain't got nothing to do with rioting. That's a Democrat who said law and order. So the whole idea of, even Trump calls himself the law and order president. Well, guess who we got that from? LBJ, not a Republican. Nixon took it up and played with it. And then Bill Clinton did it. And like the brother said, they used, punishment issues. The Democrats since 68, Democrats have used the crime issue as a on a down low culture war issue against black folk. So Biden was the chief architect of the super predator, black violence, black on black crime era talk in the 90s. That was Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. That was some black politicians in the Congressional Black Caucus that co-signed on that legislation. In fact, Bill Clinton was being responsive to the Congressional Black Caucus and their demands for him to be responsive to violence in our neighborhoods. So I think, again, it's a football. But a sister named Callie House in the 1890s was in Louisiana. It was in Memphis. And she had 300,000 followers, not like on the internet, but she had actual 300,000 followers in the town. And Callie House and Isaiah Dickerson saw that the United States federal Treasury taxed all of this cotton that was still on the scene during these Civil War battles. So all the cotton that the Confederacy had got taxed by the Union. That tax was about $59 million. The $59 million was given to the white soldiers in the Union. And so Callie House and Isaiah Dickerson, they came along and said, no, that belongs to us. We the ones that pick that cotton. That's our reparations. This happens. So this brother, we're talking about how they keep kicking it down the football. I'm showing you that they started doing it in the 1890s.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Taylor, we have another phone. The phones are ringing off the hook right now. I know they want to talk to Professor James Taylor. Go ahead, caller.
Caller, you have a question or comment? You're on.
Yes, I got a comment. The doctor refused to mention Joe Biden, who was Bill Clinton's head lynchman.
Yeah, he just mentioned him.
Who said that black people into public school were cockroaches.
He wasn't listening to me.
Donald Trump hasn't hurt black people. He hurt more white people than anything. We as black people got to realize we got to stop saving this country who don't acknowledge us. And we always feel we got to save a country before saving our culture. These people do not care about us because we started off as Republicans. They didn't grant us liberties. Now they're Democrats. They got us enslaved. And yet still they put more black people in power that don't have no power to say what needs to be said. You talk about racism. None of these black guys will say racism to these white officers. Don't get mad at Donald Trump because he used his First Amendment to let them know he feels they're racist. Go to any black courtroom, white courtroom. You'll never hear a black lawyer say racism. He got to use bias. That's not the same thing. So Trump is using this freedom of speech that black people do have but refuse to use. So stop giving Joe Biden a credit by not talking about how many inmates he incarcerated and came up with a bill that said that children under 13 should be arrested and charged as adults.
Okay, apparently you didn't listen.
It doesn't matter what party. We are the black people who are always being used to divide the white people who want the power from us. And we are the damn fools by voting for them. So talk the truth. Don't let nobody else.
Okay, apparently he wasn't listening.
He's a student. He's a student in my class during lecture.
Yeah.
When I finally asked a student for a question, they give you a completely different answer about something that we weren't even talking about.
Yeah,
that man didn't listen to anything I said for the last 5 minutes. So let's move on.
Yes, sir.
He literally said exactly what I said.
Yes, you did mention Biden.
They have the shocking list of 10 companies that profited from the slave trade, and they've asked, why do y'all continuously bring this up? Well, when you look at Bank of America, U.S. Today, AIG, J.P. Morgan, just to say a few of them. J.P. Morgan reported that between 1831 and 1865, two of its predecessors banks, Citizens Bank and Canal Bank in Louisiana, accepted approximately 13,000 slaves as loan collateral and seized approximately 1,250 slaves when plantation owners defaulted on their loans. So that's so important.
Yes. Well, let me tell you real quickly. The state of Iowa, the state of California, the city of Chicago, and San Francisco have something called a Slavery Disclosure Ordinance, SDO. And in San Francisco, we did it in 2006. I was actually on that committee. So, you know, when I'm dead and gone, they better remember I was fighting for reparations as far back as 2006 in San Francisco. And I helped write the legislation that became the blueprint for what we're doing now. And again, it's called Slavery Disclosure Ordinance. And what it means in San Francisco is any bank, any insurance company, any company with textiles like cotton, they have to do their own self-study, a deep dive into their coffers and tell us what they know about their ties to slavery. Even though it wasn't slavery in California per se under the United States, there was slavery in California up until 1837 under Spain. But again, the way it worked out is that I'm talking about Slavery Disclosure Ordinance. What this is it's a requirement that every company in San Francisco has to tell whether it had ties to slavery. And Bank of America's headquarters is San Francisco, California. That's where Bank of America comes from, not New York. They're from San Francisco. And during the George Floyd protests, all of these banks and all of these companies pledged $60 billion to black folk. They were giving them to the HBCUs. And what's really interesting is the Slavery Disclosure Ordinance requires Bank of America and all banks in San Francisco to do their own research. And if you go online right now, you can go in and look in San Francisco's at San Francisco Slavery Disclosure Ordinance. Google it. It's in the office of a city administrator, so it's in the city government in San Francisco. And if you look at it, there's a bunch of companies in there right now that have admitted it. They don't know anybody's watching. But I wrote the legislation in 2006, and I was waiting for everybody to finally catch up to those of us who were doing this work 15, 20 years ago. Now, what's really interesting is the Slavery Disclosure Ordinance exposed that Bank of America had acquired 63 companies. 63 companies. One from New Orleans, an insurance company that insured black bodies when they were being rented out as laborers by other, small farms. So the Slavery Disclosure Ordinance in California and specifically in the city of San Francisco. So it's at the state level and it's only in San Francisco. I don't think it's in LA or Oakland or Berkeley, but definitely San Francisco. And every company, US Bank has admitted it, Wells Fargo. I'm telling y'all, if you go in and look online, you will see all the companies in San Francisco only that have admitted their ties to slavery. And we got Bank of America where we want them because they ran and opened their mouths during the George Floyd protests and volunteered $3 billion to black America. And I'm saying, how the hell are you going to give $3 billion to black America when you're the main reason why black folk are organizing for reparations in San Francisco from all the housing damage y'all did in the 40s through the 70s? And you ain't beginning with your charity at home. In other words, Bank of America should admit in San Francisco that they are partly responsible for purchasing companies that insured black bodies, like you were saying, those 12,000 bodies you were talking about. Look, I teach at a Jesuit Catholic school. I know New Orleans, I know Louisiana, very Catholic. Look here, if you look it up, Georgetown University has a reparations plan for the 282 black people and their families and their descendants that Georgetown and the Jesuit Catholic Church sold. Now you think, if you want to hear somebody bold, I'm a black man. I teach at a Jesuit Catholic University right now. Now listen to what I'm saying to you. That at that point, when they sold, and I think it was 1837, there was a great panic. There was a Great Depression in 1837. And during that panic, the Jesuits at Georgetown sold 282 faithful, loyal, older house slaves who were domestics down to brutal field slavery in Louisiana. That happened. Please look it up, since we in Louisiana. Georgetown sold 282 black folk from D.C. down to Louisiana, and they have scenes where these older women were begging the Jesuit priests, how could you sell us to the fields? How can you sell us down in Louisiana? They begged. There's a scene where one older black woman got on her knees and begged the Jesuit priest not to sell them. Let me tell you all what I'm saying, if I'm talking too loud for you to appreciate. What I'm saying is that Georgetown University and the Jesuit Society of Jesus were saved in America, period, by selling 282 people. That $2 million they got saved Georgetown, and it funded the entire Jesuit religion in America. Black people, black bodies, 282 black people saved the whole religion of the Jesuits. So if without those 282 black people, there would be no Georgetown, there would be no Gonzaga, there would be no Loyola Marymount, there would be no Santa Clara, there would be no Marquette, there would be no St. Louis University. There would be none of those schools down there in Louisiana that's called Xavier, because all them schools that's called Xavier is Jesuit.
Right.
There would be no Xavier University. Please, black folk, understand. Not only does the government owe us, but if you remember, there was one instance where Brother James Foreman actually walked into the Jewish synagogues and to Catholic churches in the 60s with a manifesto demanding reparations, and they gave him $1 million. The white church did respond to a 1960s demand when James Foreman walked into Riverside Church and demanded reparations from the religious element of America. And one group did respond, they gave $1 million. But the Jesuits never did. So the Jesuits, what I'm trying to help you appreciate is that Jesuit religion in America could not exist unless Georgetown sold those black people. That's how deep, how deep this goes. You talking reparations? The whole Jesuit order would not exist unless they did this in 1837.
That's just to say, this is the CRT that they failed to tell us here. You know, I went to Catholic school in my little hometown. So none of this stuff, it even came close to me having an understanding that all of this happened. Wow.
And the sad thing is, you know, you got all these white folk up in arms about the $5 million in San Francisco. But those same white people have no problem with them spending $5 million of keeping us in jail. See, I said this to my students yesterday. Anytime you get in a room with a criminologist or defense attorneys or prosecutors and judges and political science professors talking about punishment, they start throwing around billions and billions and billions and billions. And I'm saying what reparations is to me is simply, instead of you using billions to keep us down, give us those same billions to build ourselves up.
Amen.
That's what reparations is to me. America has gone out of its way to underdevelop the black group and overdevelop the white group so that we feel under and they feel over. And the tragedy for them is the government was lying because they was never superior to us. We were here 200 years before the first white people came, before the British, before the Jews and the Irish and the Welsh and the Scots. We were here for 200 years before they came. And they came and leaped over us. Martin Luther King explains this. I would encourage anybody to go online and Google or YouTube Martin Luther King and reparations and listen to King break down reparations, how the Europeans got all of this federal support and gave them strength to become middle class. And that's all we're trying to do in San Francisco. We ain't trying to make nobody rich with reparations. We're trying to get them out the bottom and into the middle class.
The phone line.
That's what reparations means to me.
Professor
and I'm saying this real quickly.
You have a question?
The phone lines are lighting up again.
Give me 1 second. Let me just say this. Let me get this out.
Hold
Let me get this out real quick. Let me get this out. Because I want us to understand the American government has spent trillions since the 60s, both Democrat and Republican, brother, who wasn't listening before. Both parties have spent trillions in keeping us down. Trillions in the prisons, trillions in the jails, trillions with law enforcement, trillions with National Guard, trillions keeping us in the court system since the 60s. And what we're saying to America, reparations is keep your focus on us just like you did when you incarcerated us. Keep your focus on us the same way you did when you put 4 million of us in prison. Keep your focus on us the way you do in the foster care system, the way you do in the hospitals, and you got us dying young, and you got us, having greater infant mortality. Keep your focus on us. But we're saying flip the script. We're saying the same way you white folks. See, white America ain't never complained about the trillions of dollars they invested in keeping us down. But now they want to complain that we're saying take those trillions, turn them into reparations so we can build individuals when they're young instead of trying to recover them as broken men and women. Yes. I was at a conference and said to a bunch of professionals, about 75 professionals, law enforcement professionals, who were in a room for hours throwing around billions of dollars. And I just stopped the whole room. And I said, why don't we give that money to the black kids in the neighborhood? Give every black child in America $250,000 a day they're born. Because you're going to spend it on them anyway in the system, keeping them down. So give it to them up front and let them live a good life. But America don't want that. America knows the solution to the black man's problem is reparations. Our only politics has been reparations. Integration wasn't black politics. Integration was white politics. Integration was the NAACP. Black folk were Garveyites. Black folk were committed to Harlem and to New Orleans, or wherever there was black community, it was called Harlem. Everywhere in America where black people lived was called Harlem, not just San Francisco. San Francisco prides itself on being called Harlem of the West. But if you know anything about the black migration that begins in the 1870s under Pap Singleton over to Kansas, black folk have been moving from 1870 to 1970. 100 years, we were never at peace in America. We just kept on moving.
Yeah. Professor Taylor, you don't mind take this caller?
I sure will.
Yeah, you're on the roll, brother.
Go ahead, caller. You're on.
I hate to interrupt Professor Taylor, but I have a question concerning Trump. At one time he said he could go out and kill someone and they would never do him anything. So he had a lot inside the riot that went on at the Capitol, and someone did pass, and there was a debt. So when he go to court, do you think they could bring that subject up as him being an accessory? And I'll listen to what Professor Taylor has to say, and y'all have a blessed day.
No, I don't think they can bring that up in D.C. The case, this is a New York case and a Georgia case, and those cases will hinge on what he did and what Lindsey Graham and others did in those specific jurisdictions. But again, for me, focusing on reparations, I want to get back to that, is simply that every aspect of American society that has kept us down costs a lot of money to do it. And what we're saying is, give us that money and let us develop ourselves. We're saying you spent 4 decades and trillions of dollars to keep us underground, to keep your knee on our neck. And what we're saying is, give every black child, because that's what every white child in America who's middle class, not poor white people. Y'all got plenty of poor white folk, and we got plenty of poor white folk, so we know they ain't getting no $250,000. But the average white middle class person is basically $250,000 more than the average black American in terms of net worth. All of the disparities research, Brother Jay and Sister Khadija, about 15 years ago, there was a bunch of scholarship that was talking about disparities, the inequities between black and white. In fact, in my book is called Black Nationalism in the United States. The last page of it cites a study that looks at Martin Luther King's dream every year and measures it like with marriage, home ownership, employment rates, life expectancy, anything that would be the American dream, they measure it statistically. And this group said in 2011 that if black America and white America in general continue on the same trajectory in terms of home and land ownership only, not wealth, land and homes, it will take black America 1,666 years to catch up to white America. That's a millennia and a half. And that's just in terms of home ownership. So we are so far behind that only government intervention could change the black predicament in America. And I think we need to understand, like the brother said, it's been kicked down the line. But if you do a proper study of reparations, you will know that it was the original black politics of all black politics after abolition. Our first politics was abolition. Our second politics was reparations. And they arrested the first black leaders who ever led a movement. Let me get back to Callie House. She wasn't even the leader in Memphis. Nobody was the leader in Memphis. The people were the leader in Memphis. There's a book by Mary Frances Berry called My Skin is Black is True. That's the story of Sister Callie House, and everybody black in America needs to read, because this sister, she organized, she sued the Treasury based on the logic that the labor that produced all that cotton was our labor. We deserved it, not the Union soldiers. So she sued based on a mutual fund that they created for a pension fund that they created for the Union soldiers. But she said that money belongs to black people, not to Union soldiers. Do you know what they did to her? They threw her in jail. They threw Isaiah Dickerson in jail. They threw the leaders of the original black politics of reparations in jail. So yeah, they've been, and just for the record, they used the same tax and, mail fraud charge against Callie House that they would later use against Marcus Garvey. Let me say that again. They did it to Callie House first, and then they used it against Garvey, and they put him in jail in Georgia, and then they deported him. So Callie House got arrested for mail fraud first, then Marcus Garvey. Not Garvey, we look at Garvey as an isolated incident. No, they did this to her and Isaiah Dickerson. And again, my point is, black folk have always sought for reparations. When we were in South Carolina, right after the Civil War, they said, what y'all want? They said, we want 40 acres and a mule, 10 acres for the husband, 10 for the wife, 10 for the 2 kids apiece. That's where the 40 acres came from. And we went from that to, that was South Carolina. In Memphis, we had a movement of hundreds of thousands of black folk that were operating on the logic that we picked the cotton, we deserve the reparations, not the Union soldiers. And they put them in prison. So from that time on, anytime black folk have stood up for reparations, white people have said no. But for 15 generations of white people, they have said no. And now they got some black faces up in power with them, and those black faces are saying no. You don't hear nobody in California, no famous black person, not one, championing reparations. It's people like me and the people on my co-committee. But you don't see Magic Johnson talking about reparations. You don't see Puffy out here talking about reparations. You don't see none of these black celebrities at BET talking about, do you know the one sister who does? The sister from the Cosby Show. Is it Erica Alexander?
Yeah, Alexander.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I give her credit. Sister Erica Alexander. Follow her on Instagram. That sister is brilliant, and she's breaking it down, and she's so articulate. If you don't believe in reparations, there's something wrong with you. Because that's the original injury. The original crime against black people has never been addressed by any government in America. And so what we're doing in San Francisco, and let me help you appreciate what we're doing. Let me help you appreciate what we're doing.
I'm trying to get you
and at the local level, where did gay marriage, even if you disagree with gay marriage, where did it come from? San Francisco. Who was mayor? Gavin Newsom. Who supported gay marriage when nobody else did? Gavin Newsom in San Francisco. It was unpopular. He supported it. It caught fire. The courts supported it. Now it's law. But it came off the City Hall steps of San Francisco. Marijuana legalization. I know there's plenty of Christians down in Louisiana. So, again, you don't have to support what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to show you something.
They smoking.
I'm just trying to show. That's funny. Hey, I ain't going to talk about the pastors. We're going to talk about that later. That's another topic. But marijuana legalization, where did it come from? Oakland, out here. On 14th and Broadway, there's a college called Oaksterdam, and that was the beginning of the marijuana legalization movement. So I just showed you two things. At the local level in California, two extremely unpopular issues like gay marriage and marijuana legalization went from local politics to national. And that's why reparations in San Francisco is so important strategically, because that place, the black community is only 3%, but they got about 4 black people in power with 3%. Because the black community of San Francisco has always been very, like the little red caboose train, it's way stronger than its numbers. And Black San Francisco is leading the national movement in reparations. Now, since we organized, Detroit just set up a reparations committee last week. Chicago before that. Boston. I'm now working with some people advising them that now you're going to hear in about a month that Oakland, California is doing a reparations movement. And it's this groundswell from the bottom, from the local, from San Francisco with the gay marriage and weed in Oakland. Those things went from local to national movements. And I'm saying reparations is less popular than homosexuality.
Okay,
reparations is less popular than marijuana legalization.
You have
and
calls.
I'm saying that the blueprint for what they did with marijuana and gay marriage is what, and all of a sudden, there are about 20 cities right now in America organizing for reparations. And we have to keep it going from the bottom up until somebody comes along the line from above and says, we'll do it. Because Gavin Newsom has signed legislation in California to make it easier for us to get reparations.
We have several
So Gavin Newsom, if he becomes president, that would be the first white man who's done anything toward reparations that actually became president, because he's already signed legislation to make it possible for us to create the committee and to do this reparations work. So what I'm saying is, if Gavin runs, who knows?
Callers, you have a quick question or comment?
Yes, for Dr. Taylor. Dr. Taylor, I know about the Georgetown thing that you talked about. I read about it, etc. But let me ask you the question about it. Who did Georgetown University pay that money to so that we can actually know that they did pay? Because as I understand, I don't know who they paid. They claim that they paid the money, but you know who they paid. When you find out, let us know. Another thing.
Thank you.
That reparation thing that we're talking about, it's been a blank check. It's going to be a blank check. And some of us will never be alive to see if that blank check ever gets some ink pen to it so that it gets to be written in to go cash. Another thing, Brother Taylor, I want to ask you is this. You can also, I want to talk to you about everything you said. I'm going to stick in that student loan, $10,000 exempt. I want you to talk a little bit about that, where we're talking about San Francisco reparation. And the presidency, the political football, talk about why are they not talking about that student loan, and why has they waited till this point to where people going to soon have to start paying on their student loan, because I think the time's going to soon go out in April where everybody's going to start paying back, and the block that they had on it going to move away, and you have to start paying. Talk about that, and to close, let me leave you with this, brother. We all believe that we were the first humans in the mother Africa. But this is America. They feel that they were the first ones here, and we know we know we had folks here before them. But when we came here, they brought us to America. So according to them, you wasn't here in America. This was ours. We took it, and it was ours. We brought you here. You were slaves. And that's what you were. You were not the first people over here. Y'all from Africa. And y'all came here with chains because y'all were our workers. So we wasn't first in America.
All right.
We read and studied about being first somewhere. But
let him coach.
It wasn't in America.
Coach.
Until that, we can always be that way to them. Thank you.
You want him to answer the questions, but you keep going on and on and on.
Our callers are passionate, Sister Khadijah.
I would say, I would suggest that, the student loans definitely is an issue that would benefit black folk, and they know it. The Republicans know it. And it's really sick to me that they're fighting it, that they're opposing student loan forgiveness that can make life better. I was in Australia once, and in Australia, they were so, you could be 30 years old and never have gone to college and decide at 30 you want to go back to school, and in Australia, you can go back to school for free. That's how it is. Yeah. So you could be somebody that's just a waste from 20 to 30, just wasting your life for a decade, and decide at 30, I want to get my stuff together. Australia says, okay, we will take care of you. See, the problem with America is because it's diverse, white folk are willing to die before they see everybody happy. That's the sickness of white America. This is the sickness they have. They are dying. Look at this. In 33 out of 50 states in America, including Louisiana, The white group is dying faster than it's being born. Let me say that again. In 33 out of 50 states in America, the white birth rate is not keeping up with the white death rate. Fentanyl crisis, the opioid crisis, the midlife crisis that these folk are having is destroying them culturally and spiritually. We have deep religious and spiritual culture. So we have survived the Holocaust and the Ma'afa. We've survived everything they've thrown at us, and we are actually having a population explosion, and they dying out. That's how sick they are. And nowhere in the world do 500 white people get shot by the police, only America. And they're willing to let that be the reality as long as they keep us shot. See, that's a sickness. Nowhere in the world do 500 white people get shot by their police anywhere on the earth. In the Western Europe, I'm not talking about Russia and the East. Them folk are different. I'm talking about in Australia, Canada, England, New Zealand, right? Name one of those countries where 200 white people get shot a year. Let's lower it. Name one of those countries where 100 white people get shot a year. You can't find it. But in America, even though that's a very small number, in a country with 400 million people, think about it. White people in America have the shortest life expectancy out of all white people on the earth. This is what they did to themselves. It's like in the Bible where Joseph says, you meant it for my bad, but God meant it for my good. They put us here. They tried to destroy us, and look at who's dying out, not us. That's what Trump is. Trump is a symptom of them dying out. He's the last lurching of a dying thing. In 50 years, I'm giving you what the U.S. Census says. The United States Census projects that by 2065, the black population of America goes from 45 to 65 million. And then in 10 years, in 2075, we go from 65 million to 75 million. The Asian population goes from 3% to 6% nationally. The Latino population in every county in America has higher birth rates than white women everywhere. And even in Vermont and Maine and South Dakota, Latinas are outbirthing white women. And then you add fentanyl and the opioid crisis. And fentanyl and opioid ain't a black problem to the extent it's been a white problem. It's their crisis. And so I say all of that to say, they meant it for our bad. But look at us. We ain't perfect. But damn it, we're about the strongest black people on the planet Earth. After all we've been through, we're as strong as any part of Africa. We're as strong as any part of the West Indies. We're as strong as any part of the Caribbean. As a people, we ain't perfect, but we've been through hell, and we still standing strong, and we are leading the world in reparations. Be clear, Jamaica is asking for reparations. When Queen Elizabeth died, all of the black countries that had a piece of jewelry on her crown said, we want our jewelry back. Last month, Germany gave back reparations and artifacts to Togo and Nigeria. Tobago from Trinidad. Tobago withdrew from the United Kingdom and said the Queen is no longer ahead of us. We are now a republic and we want reparations. When the Queen, when Prince William and his wife went to Jamaica last year or 2 years ago, the Prime Minister told him in front of the whole world, we want reparations. They told the French, we want reparations. This ain't no black America asking for no welfare and no handout. It's saying that we are prosecuting the past 500 years of the evil you have done to get where you are. And the disparity of wealth that exists in America between black and white was created by the tools of American government. The tools at the county. When you look at all of the evil that happened at Colfax in Louisiana.
Colfax massacre.
Right?
Yes.
Right. This happened everywhere in the South, and that was the county governments doing that. That was the sheriffs and the judges, and all of those beautiful black bodies are up under those grounds. And I'm saying that to say that we don't even begin to understand the evil that has happened to our people here. Yes. If we just talk about incident after incident after incident, it's so evil, it would take a long time to record all the evil that has happened to black folk here, but we still standing. And I remember Reverend Fred Casey Price. I'll try to be quick. Okay. Reverend Fred Casey Price, who's now dead out in L.A., his son now preaches out there. He said that black America, and this is online, you can find it, Reverend Fred K.C. Price, K.C. Price. He says in a sermon to his church in L.A., while he's walking around with his Bible, because he was a Bible preacher with his Bible open, and he said that black folk came into this country with nothing. We had no clothes. He said, and in 200 years, look at what we've done as a people. There's not another group like us anywhere on the earth. Black America and the black folk, we did not start as slaves. Ivan Van Sertima's research, they came before Columbus, is definitive. Black people were here hundreds of years before Columbus. Hell, they admit that there was a white man that came before Columbus named Leif Erikson in the year 1000. They even admit Columbus ain't first. They say a man from Norway in the year 1000 named Leif, L-E-I-F, Erikson was the first white man in the world. But you can see from the work of Ivan Van Sertima and the works of Cheikh Anta Diop, the evidence of black African and black West Indian or Caribbean contact before Columbus. Columbus went to Jamaica, to the Bahamas, and Columbus bumped into some black folk called the Arawak or the Lucayans or the Carib. And that's where you get the word Caribbean from. And the Carib were black, not Indian, not Indio. They were Negro in this land. Just like in Australia, you got a piece of land that was a part of Africa and fell apart from it 60,000 years ago. And if anybody listening today goes to Australia today and talks to the Aborigine, they will call themselves black to you. The Aborigine in Australia do not call themselves the Aborigine. They call themselves black men.
Dr. Taylor, unfortunately, we have to wind it down. You've been rolling. We've been getting a real history and political science lesson straight from a real live professor who I think he loves the people in Louisiana. I hear him talk a little bit like Louisiana people. Straight and unadulterated truth.
Yes, and that Colfax massacre was right there in Alexandria, and that was April 13th, 1873. Three whites lost their lives, while over 200 blacks lost their lives.
See, and let me get this in real quick. Reparations ain't about white people no more. Just like gay people don't argue about whether gay sex is natural no more. They just moved on and got married, and now they're doing transgender. We have to move beyond thinking about reparations and white people's relationship to it. We're not talking about white people. We're talking about what the government did to us, the crime of the state. And even though white folk have been lying and saying for the last 10, 15 years, we weren't slaves and we didn't hold you slaves, the truth is Washington, D.C. and every state that ever held black people as slaves and every county that ever held black people as slaves is still here. So we don't need the slave masters or the slaves to be here no more. We got the state. The state did the crime against black people. And just like if you did a crime 50 years ago, the government will never let you off it. We should never let them go when it comes to the crime of slavery against our people.
And thank you so very much to
How can we get at you, Dr. Taylor? Because our time is slipping fast.
Instagram, I'm James Taylor 1699. You can find me on Facebook, and also my email is taylorj@usfca.edu. taylorj@usfca.edu.
Yes, and I'll be putting up the show links and links to your site.
When Louisiana get reparations, or Georgia or South Carolina, brother Jay and sister Khadijah, that's going to be the thing. It's easy for San Francisco to do, but God have mercy if Atlanta come up with a plan, or if New Orleans come up with it, or if Lafayette starts a reparations movement. Down in the South, that's where we need the reparations movement to go back, because that's where it started, down South. And we need black folk in the South to get involved in creating one Southern state. We need one Southern state or city to organize reparations, and that will be the real breakthrough.
Yes, sir.
Yes, indeed.
We want to thank you so much, Dr. Taylor. And you know, you're always welcome to come back, and we'll get you on in the near future. Another conversation. We're going to talk about the pastors. I'm not going to say that.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Take care.
Brother Herbert is coming on with that hot reggae. Remember, Hens for Hero. They're heroes. They're going to be giving out hens April the 1st, 2023, and that's going to be at the Walmart in Carencro, and that's 3810 Northeast Evangeline Thruway. The Black Pages today, which is located, the Black Pages location is going to be at City Hall. They're going to be having something going on from 6 o'clock p.m. 6:30 is when it's going to start celebrating 40 years of Black Pages. And the lady to contact is Brianna Lee Day 337-284-0104. 337-284-0104. Don't forget Francis Benoit, American Legion Post, April the 1st, drive-by breakfast in appreciation to veterans, and that's at 603 Clifford Road, Lafayette, Louisiana, Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And don't forget the VUB Veterans Upward Bound Program. You could get in touch with Miss Linda at 337-482-5835. Thank you so very much, and we are out of here. Sorry we couldn't get no more callers. Yeah.